how much does Leech suck? Or more precisely, how good does the suction feature work on the new Masters of the Universe Origins Leech? And so Masters of the Universe was a line that was well known in the 80s for having action features in its figures, and remarkably most of them worked very, very well. And I think sometimes we take for granted just the genius engineering that went into some of those old figures. In the Masters of the Universe Origins line, they have tried to sometimes recreate those old action features, and oftentimes they haven't worked as well. So in this video, we'll be taking a look at how well the old Leech sucked compared to the new Leech, and we're going to see which of them sucks more. One thing to note is that the new Leech has interchangeable hands and head, and so sometimes you will see him with those interchangeable parts. They do not suck, but they look cool. So first up, let's see how much the old Leech sucks. So he does have a suction feature on his head and his hands, but not on his feet. And so his head is actually not a traditional suction cup. There's actually an entire mechanism inside of the figure that makes his mouth suck. So you actually press a button on the back and you can actually hear the air pushing out. And so to get him to suck, you press down the button and then you firmly attach him to the surface, and then he will suck whatever it is you attach him to. If you want him to suck your hand, he certainly will. And so yeah, he can even attach to your face. So if you want him to suck your face, you absolutely can. One thing to note about both Leech's suction abilities is that every single way they have to suck only works on smooth, non-porous surfaces. So that means that they do not work on figures. You cannot get Leech to attach to any action figure. It just doesn't work. However, what he can suck and stay attached to are walls and bookshelves and smooth surfaces like that. Now, why does he want to suck a wall? I don't know, but it's something he can do. If you attach it well enough to the surface, he can stay on there for a little bit, but well under an hour. His hands are more traditional suction cups, so you just attach them to the surface, but you need to wet the suction cup first. You need to get his hands wet, and even then it's only going to attach for a few minutes. However, even the packaging acknowledges that the suction of his hands is much weaker and is designed only to hold up very light, small objects. So if you have, say, an empty medicine box, he can hold that, but still only for a few minutes. So he does suck, but his sucking abilities are a bit limited. All right, now let's talk about the new Leech from Masters of the Universe Origins. So he has suction cups on his feet, his hands, and his mouth. And so he has 5 different ways he can suck. And so his mouth is a traditional suction cup, and it doesn't have that vacuum inside action feature of the original. And so he will attach to your hand like the old Leech. However, I can't get him to attach to my face. So this new Leech does not suck face. He's just not that type of Leech, I guess. And because these are suction cups, if you want them to last more than a minute, you will need to wet them. And so let's start with the most extreme example, him supporting his entire weight with only one hand, only one suction cup. And surprisingly, it worked. And it lasted for over an hour, but then he fell. So let's try something really secure. He's attached with all of his limbs. We're talking arms and legs, so 4 suction cups. And he still fell in under 3 hours. So he lasted a good long time, but still had its limits. And so what about standing? I see a lot of people who are really happy that his feet stick to the ground, and they will last for a good long time. However, after somewhere between 6 or 7 hours, he fell over when I had him standing with his feet stuck to the ground. So it will not last. If you're putting him in a display, this isn't going to hold. So if you're looking to display him and you want him to stand long term, What you're looking at right now is what you do not want to happen. You do not want the suction cups to be flat and adhering to the surface. This is the one time you do not want him to suck. You want his suction cups to look like this, where they're just resting on the surface. This is how you can get him to stand. You're going to need to bend his knees, kind of an old school squatting pose, but you can get him to balance this way. You're just going to have to put him down very, very gently. May take a little bit of practice, but it is possible to get him to stand without his suction cups adhering to the floor. And so while it's not good for displaying him long term, man, his suction ability is fantastic for action figure photography. I love this to death, giving him the ability to adhere to surfaces and ceilings just like a real leech can. It really ratchets up the horror element of the Evil Horde. The main difference to me between Skeletor's men and the Evil Horde is Skeletor's men are men who have elements of monsters in them. The Horde are monsters that walk like men. There's such a bigger horror element to the Evil Horde, and this lets you do some really, really cool poses and really terrifying stuff with Leech that I absolutely love. And I just love this idea of being able to adhere and stick to walls and ceilings like this. I don't know if there's a Spider-Man or Venom figure like this, but there should be. Also keep in mind, all smooth, non-porous surfaces are not the same. So behind me is a bookcase that's attached to a desk. And so it has a different finish than the bookcases I was showing you that I experimented with, right? And so Leech cannot attach to the shelves behind me. It just has a different finish. It's a slightly rougher. You can barely feel it with your hand, but it makes a world of difference when trying to attach him. So just keep that in mind. It has to have a very, very smooth finish for him to be able to attach to it. And while I wish I could get him doing those incredible poses, sticking to walls and ceilings long term, he still looks really great standing, and he will stay that way as long as you get his balance right. And let's face it, most of us, we're just going to put him with the Evil Horde standing beside Hordak anyway, and he looks fantastic that way. We still have to fill out our Evil Horde, and so Mantenna is coming in the next wave of Masters of the Universe Origins figures, and you can pre-order him right now. I know some people were upset because Grizzlor was announced as a Mattel Creations exclusive, but I believe that only means that that particular packaging and the mini comic he comes with is exclusive to that version of Grizzlor. I don't believe that negates him being released in retail, and I would be shocked if he does not have a retail release. However, that does not mean he will have a single carded retail release. Now, keep in mind, this is only a guess, but judging from their infatuation with redoing old 2-packs, I would suspect that they're going to do a modern version of the Hordak Grizzlor 2-pack. Again, this is just a guess, but who knows, maybe this will be their opportunity to release the Filmation colored Hordak. Again, just pure speculation. But the speculation is supported by the fact that the exclusive figure that we've been shown has a much darker skin tone than the one that was revealed in the 40th anniversary announcements. And it's even more pronounced if you look at the feature shots of them side by side. And you will notice that the exclusive Grizzlor also has an axe that was not shown in the original announcement for this figure. And you'll notice that the figure that was originally announced doesn't even have gripping hands, so he couldn't even hold the axe. And so my guess is that this is a more expensive figure to produce. We've already seen how much more Panther was flocked than unflocked. And this is a way to subsidize how expensive this figure is to produce by doing exclusive versions to help compensate for the cost of putting him at retail, and that we will eventually get the figure that Mattel originally promised us. So I'm going to say overall that this is a shining example of a Masters of the Universe Origins figure with an action feature that not only equals the old one, but actually exceeds it. And I want to thank Mattel for giving us a better Leech that sucks more than the original. On a quick side note, I was planning on doing a similar video about the new snout spouts action feature. However, I've had some problems getting it to work properly. I can't get the tank to fill up, and so I'm not going to be doing that video. You can look online. It's worked for a lot of other YouTubers very well, and there was one YouTuber, Manchild, who pretty much did very similar tests to what I was going to do with snout spout, and he actually took it one step further and literally had snout spout put out a fire, and I cannot compete with that, so go look at his video. And so even though I don't plan to set anything on fire, please like and subscribe for more videos, and until next time, good journey.